What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. I want to give you guys a massive thank you for getting me to 5,000 subscribers. It's an amazing milestone, and especially since I released that world record video, things have been going super quickly. I just want to say thank you to all of you guys who I've met on my Discord and stuff like that, and all of you guys who leave constant comments. There are many of you, especially the guys who've been here since the start. It's really appreciated all the nice comments I get. Sometimes I read some of the comments out to my nana and she's just blown away with how nice people are, and I have to say it's definitely true. Like, people are just super nice, and it's really a blessing to have all of you guys along for the journey with me. It's been really good. So thank you very much for 5,000 subs, and my goal at the start of the year was 10,000, but now I'm shooting for 20. We'll let's get to 10,000 first, but you know, I do think with the way things are going, we could get really far this year. So obviously this is a Q&A video. Just in a few seconds I'm going to be answering a whole bunch of you guys' questions. I hope I give decent answers. If your question didn't appear inside this one, it's probably because it was answered in one of my previous Q&As, which I'll link in the description. Also, I did repeat some of them from the last ones just because I thought we got a lot of new people in here, and yeah, hopefully I can answer it in a more interesting way than I did last time anyway. Before we get into that, I just wanted to say that I have got a Instagram post up here, guys. You can see that I went on a hike just recently. Go follow your boy on Instagram, give it a like, and then also I just launched channel memberships, which is perhaps the more exciting news. So it's $5 Australian a month, so about like €3.50 or something like that. There's going to be like some perks. For example, on the fan maps videos, you can get your maps in there sooner, and also there'll be like a private league and a private Discord. So go ahead and support me there if you're interested in it. Otherwise, no problem at all. All the videos will continue as normal, and yeah, it will be very good to have you guys along if you can. Again, no problem if not, but yeah, that's an option. Okay, so let us get into these questions. I've got some gameplay in the background, and let's just head straight into some of them. Okay, so the first one here is from Jano G. He asked what my top 3 sports are. Okay, my top sport is definitely cricket. I'm an Aussie, I really like cricket, and to me it's just the best sport to watch. I've never played too much myself, but I just love it. And then for my second and third, I'm going to say tennis and volleyball. Volleyball because I'm playing it at the moment in a little social league, and that's pretty fun. And tennis because I've come to enjoy that sport quite a bit recently, and just watching the Oz Open and stuff like that is always good fun. So that'll be my top 3. Next one, Kugel asks, he has a few questions here. Where would you like to live if you couldn't live in Australia? That's a good question. I think I did answer this one in the last one, and I said that because I have a Canadian citizenship, I'd probably live over there. And that's still true. I'd probably go move to Vancouver, where my grandpa lives, and that would be my second choice outside of Australia. Then there's also Germany, because I speak German. I'd love to live in like Austria or Germany. Those both would be fantastic. And then also I would say New Zealand, just because it's very similar to Australia culturally, and perhaps arguably a little bit more beautiful with those mountains. So yeah, that'll probably be my top 3 or 4 if you include Austria. So yeah. Okay, what is the most underrated country in Geoguessr, he also asks. This one is interesting. It's got to be something that has a lot of different climates. So I always love to say Chile for this, but it could also be something like South Africa, or even something like the USA, where you have just like a lot of different climates. Now, maybe USA is not really underrated, but so I've got to say Chile, just because of the mountains, the different climates, you know, you get all different kinds of things. So my answer for that has always been Chile. Okay, and then he also asked if you had to move out of SA to another state or territory, which one would you move to? That's another good question, and my answer would have to be Hobart in Tasmania, because I just think that city is beautiful, and so that is where I would go if I wasn't in Adelaide. Now that doesn't really, I guess that's not really thinking about like business decisions and stuff, because, you know, there's not as many jobs down there, but that's where I'd go in terms of landscape and stuff for sure. Okay, so Artem Lyubchenko asks, if you could live in any other country and never leave it, which country would you pick? Now that one's a very interesting one, because, you know, never leaving a country means that you have to have some good faith in that country that it won't go downhill. Yeah, I don't really know. Like, I guess just New Zealand. I mean, if it can't be Australia, I mean, it would just be Australia, but if not, probably New Zealand, or maybe Germany or something. That would probably be my top options. So I'll go for one of those ones. Okay, Mortal and Tarak both asked the same question. They were saying, how many hours, when did I start playing Geoguessr, and how many hours do I have roughly? So when I started playing Geoguessr, I first started playing in about 2014. We played it early in my high school years. For whatever reason, it was just included in our geography classes every now and again. I remember being pretty average at it, probably better than the other people in my class, but not really too good. But I always enjoyed it. And then eventually I discovered Geoguessr, and that's when I started playing more again. I just watched his videos, you know, like probably many of you who are watching this video as well. Yeah, after I started watching his videos, then I was like, okay, I do want to play this game again. And then especially when they added the country streak mode, the official game mode, that's when I started taking it more seriously and actually playing the game pretty regularly. So, and then in terms of hours, it's a good question because it must be many by now. I don't think I'd be quite up to 1,000 hours on Geoguessr, but I could easily see it being 600, 700, something like that. That's a pretty rough estimation. It could be more than 1,000, could be much less, but yeah, it's got to be something around like 700, I reckon. Okay, so Esteban asks, the Geoguessr player or YouTuber who I'd most like to play with, and that would probably be out of the ones who I have not yet. So I've played with quite a few by now, but I've not yet played with Geoguessr, and he has to be number one just because, you know, he's the GOAT. He's the guy who got me into the game essentially for the second time, and it's got to be him. Otherwise, if we're talking non-Geoguessr YouTubers, I'd say Geography Challenges, but I think I'm gonna have a video with him. We're gonna have a video together at some point soon, so hopefully that one gets ticked off, and maybe the Geoguessr one eventually as well. Okay, Armani asks, who are my top 5 favorite artists beside Blade? Now, a lot of these questions I did not really consider what I was going to say beforehand. I just put them on my phone. So let me think now. So Blade is a Swedish rapper. If you don't know him, very probably my all-time favorite. So definitely Lucky next. Lucky is like my favorite American rapper for sure. I'll say Kanye as well. Got to have Kanye in your top 5. Who else do I want to go? Maybe Playboy Cardi. I'll say Playboy Cardi and Can and Summers. Let's just go with that. I mean, that's not like a definitive list necessarily, but they're some guys I love at the moment. All rappers, you'll notice. I do like other stuff as well, and we'll get to that, but later on in the Q&A. But yeah, that'll be my top 5 rappers. Okay, so Reptiles Rule has a few questions. Out of the places you visited in Australia, which is your favorite and why? So I reckon I want to say it's either Kangaroo Island or the Grampians in Victoria. They're the two most naturally beautiful places I've visited. I think the Grampian mountain range in Victoria, Grampians mountain range in Victoria is very beautiful. And I recommend anyone go there, and especially Halls Gap, where you're between the mountains on each side. It looks very cool, and the mountains are quite tall, so yeah, it's pretty nice. And where's somewhere I would love to visit in Australia? That's a good question. I've seen like magnificent photos of Port Douglas and Cairns up way north where it gets very green. So the tropical rainforest would be fantastic. Otherwise, just like Blue Mountains. I have been to Sydney, but never to the Blue Mountains, so that could also be good fun. And then Tasmania. Tasmania, as I said, I would love to go to Tasmania, so that's got to be the top 3. Okay, so Finn asks, what is my favorite animal? My favorite, I think I've always just said meerkats. I really love meerkats. Otherwise, some type of monkey. They're probably my 2 favorites. And Inherent Rice asks what my favorite film is. I'm going to have to cheap out and say 2 here. My favorite film of all time is really Napoleon Dynamite. It's just such a funny movie. I don't know. You guys got to let me know if you also like that movie. It's not for everyone, but it's just always been my favorite. And then I also really like Donnie Darko. So, you know, it's that kind of thing. I mean, they're 2 different movies, but in a way a similar kind of target audience, I would say. But you know, I'm not a massive movie buff. I like movies, but you know, there we go. That's what I have to say. So Pastor says, do I have a real job right now? I have a part-time job. I'm looking for full-time work, but I'm also kind of just focusing on the YouTube as well, as you can see by my daily uploading. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But yeah, working part-time. David Piano and Craig both asked what my favorite video games are outside of Geoguessr. So Counter-Strike is the one I've spent the most time in. Counter-Strike Global Offensive, definitely a massive fan of that game. It's a bit frustrating at times, obviously, with those competitive games. It's always going to be like that, but yep, Counter-Strike. And then I would also say Age of Empires 2 for strategy games. Love that one. And then back in the PS2 days, when I was a child, I loved to play Ratchet and Clank and all kinds of racing games I loved. Like Need for Speed and Burnout and all those games. What else can I say? You know, that's the main ones that come to mind. PUBG, play some PUBG with my dad every now and again, actually, so that's something. But yeah, but I could say like Age of Empires and CSGO, my main ones. Drav asks if I've ever seen a cassowary. It's obviously those big birds that come from Queensland, flightless birds. I think I've probably seen one in real life in the zoo. I assume so, but yeah, I'm pretty sure Adelaide Zoo has some, but I have never seen one in the wild, no. And he also asks, would I come walleye fishing with him on a lake in the woods? And yes, I would, of course. If the opportunity arose, I would. Foxy Lolgram asks what my favorite countries/flags are apart from Australia. So favorite countries, I just think, it's difficult to say. When you say favorite country, it's kind of a strange thing. I don't really love any country, so to speak. I mean, I think Germany's a really cool country with a cool history, and obviously having learnt German, I'm pretty interested in German culture and history as well. Russia, I'm really interested in as well. That kind of like a lot of those European nations I'm interested in. And my favorite flag apart from Australia, which wouldn't even be Australia to begin with, my favorite flag is the Barbados flag. I also really like Burundi. And there's some others I like, but yeah, I'll say Barbados is my favorite. So Crazy Creeper asks, do I have any vlogging plans coming up? Well, next time I go on a significant holiday, I'm definitely going to be vlogging that. But in the meantime, I did kind of like plan on doing like some like bushwalk vlog or something like that with like a twist. So keep your eye out for if that happens. No promises, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about. JWeb asks what my favorite drink is, alcoholic or otherwise. So in the last one, I said my favorite drink in general is a creaming soda, brown creaming soda, the Australian version, and I do really love that. As for alcohol, I like a beer and whiskey, and you know, I'm not too fussy when it comes to alcohol, but yeah, I like beer the best. That's definitely what I drink the most of anyway. Sophia and JWeb both asked thoughts on getting that world record. That was a very special moment. I mean, like, it's definitely like, it's crazy because I remember Geoguessr like doing that mode, and I just always thought, no, it's just unachievable. I'm not that good. And to be fair, like there are guys who are way better than me, and you know, it is definitely a stroke of luck that I managed to get that. But it's almost at 50,000 views, which is just insane. And you know, it's just a special moment in my geoguessing career, and I hope that I can do better in the future. And also just, you know, it's given me some confidence to say, hey, I'm actually like, I may not be anywhere near the top, but I'm definitely, you know, a pro player of some description, and you know, like it has been some validation like that, and it's caused me to try harder for some more records in the future, I hope. Fia also asks if there's one language that I could learn quickly, what would it be? And that's Russian. I just have the desire to learn Russian. Maybe a bit of an unfortunate thing to say in the current circumstances and all that, but yeah, it's just always been the language I've wanted to learn. And I have given it a slight go on like Duolingo and stuff, but I know that would probably require some more work in the future at some point. Regardless, that would be the one, and I do want to take some lessons at some point. Callum GB says, who inspired me to start playing Geoguessr? Well, apart from my geography teacher, it would have to be Geowizard. Also, like, I remember I've been watching like Chicago Geographer and like Geography Challenge and stuff for a long time. For certain. So yeah, that would be my answer to that. Flav and Colin E both ask what countries I would like to visit the most. Okay, so I kind of compiled this in my last one, but let's go for it again. So I would say, like, I'm just looking up on my world map right now. I'd say Norway is definitely up the top. Norway is just so beautiful. And I would say New Zealand as well. I just like mountains. So Georgia is another country I would really like to visit. As for Asia, maybe like Bhutan or China could be really good, I think. And then, I don't know, like Israel and Lebanon could be really fun, I think. And then Chile as well, of course. So all those kind of things, I'll definitely be down for any of those, but and just Europe in general. I would love to go to Slovenia as well. But yeah, that's got to be my answer for that. But plenty of countries I want to go to, and they're at the top of the list. Flav asked, what's my opinion on the Netherlands? I think it's a good country. I don't really have too much to say. Like, it's a place I would definitely like to visit at one point. In fact, I have been there on a day trip. It's one of the only countries I've visited. In fact, let's just run over that because I know people like have asked that in the past. It's the countries I've visited are basically just Germany and Canada, and then I've been on day trips to the Netherlands and the US when I was staying in each of those countries respectively. So yeah. Winter for Life says, what's my favorite Google car meta? And my favorite Google car meta is courtesy of Jasper Woodard, who discovered the, or I don't know if he discovered it, but popularized the little rear view mirror technique, where the Google driver changed the rear view mirror in Kyrgyzstan, and you can actually work out what part of the country you're in based on the rear view mirror angle. That's just so ridiculous, and it's just hilarious. Otherwise, if we're just talking Google car, I love the classic Mongolia one with all the tents on the back. Classic. Okay, so Daniel asks, would I rather go to San Francisco or Los Angeles if I visit California? Good question. I think I would prefer actually to go to San Francisco. I like the look of the bay and everything, and I've heard like LA is like, it's good. It has its good parts, but it's also kind of like a crappy city. I've heard that. So I don't know if I hold that opinion myself, but maybe San Fran. I mean, San Fran's also got a bit of a reputation as well, I suppose. But I would definitely like to go there, I think. But it's kind of close. Panzer Shrek asks, is cereal a soup? And I guess my answer would just be no, not really. I think soup would normally be eaten hot, and you just have too much of like a distinctive elements. Soup would normally be more combined. I don't know. Take it or leave it. That's kind of my opinion. Ember asks, what country's flag is my favorite? I already said Barbados, but thank you for asking that as well. Okay, so what was my favorite subject in school? Asks Bad at the Game. My favorite subjects in school, and he says other than geography, but actually I dropped geography after year 10. So year 11 and 12, I did not do geography, nor did I do it at university at all. My favorite subject at high school was history. I also really liked German, but history was my favorite. And then when I got to university, I did history and philosophy. And actually out of the two, I was preferring philosophy at uni. So that'll be my favorite for each respectively. Jaden, South Africa, asks any hobbies outside of Geoguessr. Yes, I like chess. I like other video games, of course, as I mentioned before. I really like philosophy and history, and religion. I'm also like very interested in those three and watch lots of videos on YouTube about that. This tends to be what I'm doing while I'm playing Geoguessr, if I'm not recording and stuff like that. Definitely like into just like learning random things on YouTube for sure as well. What else can I say? Definitely like I like hiking as well. Definitely enjoyed playing some volleyball as well recently. Just catching up with friends, that kind of thing. So I would say that. I've probably missed some out, but that's the main ones, I guess. A bit of art as well, like some art. Birkin asks, what country makes you want to go there every time you see it on Geoguessr? So, kind of similar to the ones I said before, but I gotta say Chile, I gotta say Slovenia, and I gotta say Norway. And I gotta say Slovenia, if you asked me if I wanted to go to Slovenia before I started playing Geoguessr, I didn't realize how beautiful it was. So, shout out to the Slovenians, that would be my answer for that. Let me get some water here. So, Joho, Joanne asks, do you have a favorite national anthem? From the top of my head, I don't really remember too many, but I do remember enjoying the French one and the American one. I think they're both decent. Like, I don't really like the Australian national anthem, I'll say that. It's like, it's fine, but it's nothing too impressive or anything. But yeah, I don't really have a favorite, apart from those two, which I know have decent melodies. And she also asks what the strangest food I've eaten is. Strange food? The only thing that comes to the top of my head is like chicken feet at Chinese restaurants. I've had that a few times, and I like the flavor. So maybe, I mean, Chinese people don't consider that strange, but I think, for most people that's kind of strange. So yeah, I'll just go with that. Why not? Exist157 asks, which is better, Melbourne or Sydney? Wow, the age-old question for an Australian to answer. So I'm a bit torn here because Melbourne, I was born in, obviously, has to like gain some points for that reason. So yeah, but then also Sydney, I do consider the center of Sydney with the bay, the harbour bridge, and just the hilliness and kind of like really nice subtropical climate. It's tough. Like, I think aesthetically I'll choose Sydney, and then like for the vibe I might choose Melbourne. So I guess maybe narrowly Sydney, but I don't want to betray my hometown like that. I'm saying it's very tight. It's very tight. And also I know Exist is Melbourneian, so there's that as well. Baby Lima asks, what's the genetic makeup of my family? Are you from different countries and stuff? Okay, well, mostly just typical Australian, where like 3/4 of me is probably just like a British Isles mixture with a bit of European as well. 1/4 I'm basically full German, which also through there I have like some Southern and Eastern European like genetics as well, but pretty just standard like a European mixture. He also asked if I had any Aboriginal Australian in me at all. And as far as, well, you look at me, I'm not very Aboriginal looking. I don't think I have any Aboriginal Australian in me at all. I would be very surprised if I did, to be honest. But if I do, it is very, very insignificant indeed. Kira asks, would you prefer to live in an extreme hot climate or an extreme cold one? Or a relative cold one? Interesting. Extreme hot or relative cold? Okay. So... And he says, like Lapland. He must be from Lapland himself. You know, I think I would err on the side of a relatively cold one rather than an extremely hot one because it just sounds more pleasant. Now, I think I deal with the heat better than I do the cold, generally speaking. You'll see, as soon as it hits winter here, I'll be wearing my jumper in every video, I guarantee you. But yeah. You know what? I will go for just a relatively cold one because it seems like a better option, doesn't it? Okay, so Helena asks, who is my favorite Geoguessr YouTuber? If I'm talking like, just like, it's interesting, because I would say like RC, I watch every single one of his uploads, but he uploads relatively infrequently. Otherwise, like, it's just the normal names that I really like. Although, I would say I really like Geography Challenges videos because he's like kind of like, he likes to make similar ones to what I do, like kind of competitively based, but also like with an interesting concept behind them. So yeah, I might say him, as well as RC, who's just, you know, so good at the game that it's just a pleasure to watch. Jaden, South Africa, asks, what's my favorite city in any country? That is really tough. I think my favorite city I've been to is Sydney, but I want like an interesting answer. For one, like this, I think Vancouver is also like beautiful for similar reasons as Sydney. So they're two ones I kind of have like a personal bias towards. Otherwise, like whenever I just see like an Austrian city like Vienna or Salzburg, I'm very impressed by those ones. So I think they're super beautiful. Maybe Salzburg. That's just like one that comes to mind as like one that I'd really love to go to one day. One that I find quite beautiful. So Kenta asks, which small city would you like to visit? So I think I kind of like plan to say Salzburg for that. So maybe I'll say Salzburg for that. Otherwise, just like Hobart or somewhere in Tasmania as well. There's some small cities that I'd love to visit. Otherwise, around the world, I mean, I feel like visiting Nuuk in Greenland or something, that would be super interesting. Or, you know, something also like maybe Alaskan or Yukon towns. I actually kind of have a loose plan to do that one day. So maybe up there as well would be super cool. Nakas asks, what are the first two words that come to mind when you say when I read the word Nakas? I'm gonna say clean fade because he's always rocking the new haircut and posting it in the Discord. So that's what I have to say, Nakas. He also asked, did I get the recognition I wanted from the world record video? Considering it's like 10 times the normal views on one of your videos, and I would say yes. Like the response is basically exactly what I'd hoped. It's become my biggest video by far, and it had extremely positive reception. People seem to like you know, watching it, which is fair. I think it was a really good video. So, yeah, I hope that's a good answer. And yeah, for sure. And then X Money and Nakas, both asked me what number of subscribers they think, what I think I will end 2022 on. Good question. I'm gonna say let's be conservative a little bit here. I want to say the number of subscribers I'm gonna end 2022 on is 16,571. So quote me on that, we'll see. Froggy said, will you ever come to visit Finland? Well, I'd love to. Although I really love mountainous countries, so Finland, maybe out of the Nordics, would be one of my lower choices, but that's nothing to do with the Finns. I like the Finns a lot, and Finland looks like a cool place to visit, of course. I'd love to go to all the countries around there. Finland's got cool culture and whatnot, so definitely. What are some things I love about Australia? He also asks. I really love, like, just the you know, I'm blessed to live in Australia. Like, Australia, like, Adelaide itself is one of the most livable cities in the world. You know, when you read those lists, it always makes it on there. I think it was, like, third on one of the last big ones. It's true. Adelaide is super livable. It's a great place to live. Super happy to live. It's very safe and easygoing, and Australians are quite nice, generally speaking. So yeah, that's what I'd have to say about that. Okay, so Headbob asks, how would you recommend people completely new to Geoguessr to get into Geoguessr and get better at it? Well, that's a good question. I think what comes to mind is that you should really learn the road lines. It's really helpful to know, this is what I always say because I think it's quite underrated, to know what ones have the yellow in the center, what countries have the yellow on the outside, and what ones use all whites, and just really commit that to memory. And then also, once you've learnt that, learn which ones have like a single yellow line, like, you know, Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, and Guatemala all use that single yellow line in the center sometimes. That kind of thing, just to have a good grasp on the road lines. That's a really good piece of advice, in my opinion. Okay, Dr. Ivy asks what's my favorite Smith song. He's asking about the British band The Smiths, of course, the 80s band. And I think, like, it's hard to go past. It's hard to go past this charming man. I'll say that, or what's it called? Hand in Glove. Hand in Glove is another one I really like. So one of those two would have to be my favorite Smith song. Okay, Yaki from not from 63rd asks, when was the last time you cried for any reason? Time to get a vulnerable Oscar, no judgments. The last time I cried for any reason was about a month ago. Dark asks, if you were to travel to China one day, which city would you visit first? I'm looking up at my map here again. I think it's hard to go past Beijing. I would love to see, you know, the secret city and whatnot. I'm pretty sure that's Beijing, right? Oh, I don't want to embarrass myself here, but yeah, I would love to see, like, I've seen, you know, the beautiful pictures of the palaces in Beijing, so that would be hard to go past. Otherwise, I feel like visiting Shenzhen and Guangzhou would be great because I just know they're really happening cities, and there's like so much skyscrapers going up, so much development. So that's one thing that comes to mind. Otherwise, something more inland could be really interesting. I'm just looking up on my map. I've heard that Inner Mongolia is just really beautiful and like a really interesting place, like more rural. So maybe something there, but I don't really have a specific city in mind. So maybe go Beijing and then up there or something like that. Tuna McCall asks, what's the longest amount of time you search for a specific place in a Geoguessr map? Now, remember, this is back before I was on YouTube, or maybe it was just at the start of my channel. I had this one Peruvian round. Maybe, I thought it was Peru. It actually probably was like somewhere in Mexico or something. But anyway, there was like a pole marking. It was like, I think it was a Mexican pole, and it had like an area code on it. I thought it was Peru. This is before I was any good at the game. And I just searched for the area code for so long because I was on such a good score at that point. And of course, Latin America had to come and ruin it for me before I was any good at that. But that's what I have to say about that. So I remember spending, how long was it? Maybe 20 minutes looking for that. Maybe it's not that long. I mean, like, it just felt like a long time because I had nothing to go off of. So maybe I've actually spent longer looking it around, but maybe something about 20 minutes. So I don't have a very long patience for stuff like that. Okay, EA All Day asks, what do I have a playlist for my background songs in the videos? And no, but I'll link the videos that I use for the music inside the description. So there's just one or two playlists I use. I should honestly get some more. If you guys have some suggestions of some no copyright music that you would like to see, send them through on Discord or something like that in the video ideas section or something. I'd like to hear what you have to say, but yeah, I just kind of run with the same like lo-fi hip hop. And Ning asks, do I like Bangkok? And the answer is yes, but not, you know, like I don't have a particular fondness for it. It just seems like an interesting city, one that I'd like to go to one day. Seems like there's plenty to do in Bangkok, happening city, so I'll say yes, but I don't really have too much to say either. Dom asks, would I rather leave Australia and never come back again, or never to be able to play Geoguessr? Never be able to play Geoguessr again? I mean, it seems pretty easy that I would just stay in Australia and never play Geoguessr again. I mean, obviously there's the technicalities of it, like I could play a very similar game, like Geotactic or something. I'm assuming that's not allowed, but even still, I just like Australia too much. I like my life here. I am a citizen of Canada, could move there, of course. But, you know, to not be able to see my grandma again, she won't be able to come to Canada or anything. Either of my grandmas, you know, that would just be too sad. And even still, it just would make more sense for me. I like my home country of Australia, so I will choose that. But, you know, I love Geoguessr, don't get me wrong. My favorite game at the moment. Anyway. Beta asks, what's the coolest nature place you've ever been in Australia? So again, like I will say Grampians, and like the bushwalks I did in the Grampians are pretty stunning, and you get such nice views. And yeah, the Halls Gap, look it up if you don't know. Maybe I'll flash up an image, but yeah, definitely beautiful. Krez asks, is there any country that I don't want added to the game? And I guess he means like don't want Street View Courage to be there. That is a good question. I'm looking up at the map right now. I don't think there's any. I cannot think of a single country where I'd prefer that there was no coverage than if there was. Like, the more the better, right? From my perspective. But I guess if I had to choose like my least favorite, it would be like Nauru or something, like, or some like tiny Pacific island where it would just be like more, you know, Pacific island. Probably like, you know, so I just want the bigger the country, the better. So whatever's tiny, maybe I wouldn't be a big fan of Nauru, or, you know, whatever small or that size, you know, Tuvalu or something like that. So, but I mean, anyone would be welcome. Of course, I still want those ones as well. And so Scooby-Doo, Where Are You asks, out of all the places Bear Grylls has been dropped into on Man vs. Wild, which location do you think you'd have the most chance of surviving and thriving in? Which place? So I remember he did like a Pacific. I'm a fan of this show, Man vs. Wild. I remember he did this episode where it was over in like a Pacific island, and it was pretty easy to survive. Well, at least it appeared that way, because there was lots of plastic bottles, so you could use those to harvest any water dripping down from, you know, trees after there was some precipitation or something like that. I don't know if that's actually the easiest, but it was the coolest, also because he builds a raft and then, you know, sails his way to civilization. So I found that pretty cool. But it really depends on the situation. Otherwise, maybe just when he got dropped into the Northern Territory, I think I could maybe do that, although Australia is pretty inhospitable to people who don't have water. So, I don't know, something like that. Okay, L. John asks, if you were to change any poor or third world country into a wealthy, thriving first world country solely based on geographic features and natural beauty, what would it be? Okay, that's a really interesting question. I didn't read that properly at first. It has to be a naturally beautiful country that's quite third world. Okay. So, like, what came to mind was, like, maybe, like, Ethiopia or something, because Ethiopia has those beautiful, like, mountain valleys and everything. Also quite a poor country, all things considered. I think they are developing nicely, Ethiopia, but maybe something like that. Otherwise, Lesotho would also be a good option. It's a small country, so, but we're going purely based off of, like, aesthetic beauty in terms of the geography. So I guess it wouldn't really matter if it was, you know, a small country or a big country based on that, like, criteria. So yeah, maybe like Ethiopia or Lesotho, or maybe Afghanistan, or one of those ones, I would say. Okay, and next one, Jivil asks, what's my favorite cuisine? I answered this one in the last one. I said my top 3 were Indian, Chinese, and Italian. And I think out of the 3, I might have to go for Chinese, because I just love Chinese food. I could eat that all the time. So yeah, I'll go for Chinese as my favorite. Craig asks, not sure if you've had this question, but where does the name Zigzag come from? I did answer this one in the last one, but if you've made it this far, I may as well tell you. So the way it was, I was playing a game called Pixel Legions on my grandma's laptop when I was about 9 or something like that, and I was doing one-finger typing. I was entering my high score nickname, and this was the first time I'd ever done it. I was like, oh, why don't I do Zigzag? That's a cool name. So Z-I-G-Z-A-G, look up, and there was an 8 between the I and the G, because, you know, because that's how my finger fell on the keyboard, I guess. And I was like, wow, that looks cool. And then I just stuck with it. And to be honest, it may have been a bad choice. I think, like, I could have come up with a better channel name for this channel, but, you know, I've stuck with it now, and of course I do like it. And, you know, it's a bit iconic as well with the Z8, so why not? And finally, Kale Salad asks, what countries would you like to see Google add to coverage next? Well, you're in luck, Kale Salad, because I have a video which is all about that, the top 10 countries that I would like to see get added to Geoguessr. So if you just finished this one and you want to watch that, it's a bit of an older video, but you'll still enjoy it, I'm sure. So I'll have that one here in the end screen for you to watch. Otherwise, guys, thank you very much for 5,000 subscribers. I really massively appreciate it. You guys are the best. If you're not already in my Discord, come and join there. If you've made it all the way through the video, you should be chatting to me in there as well, guys. And yeah, sign up for the channel membership and whatnot. And guys, I'll see you guys in a video very soon. Till then, goodbye.